Yo guys, it's Kutu again. So here is my final thoughts and impressions and kind of a mini review of Trails of Cold Steel 3. So as you can see, fresh off the game, beat it just 30 seconds ago, and we're not starting to do this recording. So my final impressions of the game, great game. It improves on everything that Trails of Cold Steel 2 did, and it removes a lot of the bullshit in that game, aka Grail Burst. I'm looking at you, stupid crystals. Okay, so that's my impressions. Great game. And I'm going to do kind of a mini review of what I think are the strong points and the low points of the game. And obviously, I'm going to get the cat out of the bag with the bad stuff right now. Bad animation. Looks like exactly something ripped out of a PS3 game. It doesn't bother me at the slightest. Hair, clothing, clipping all over the place. Music playing when it's not supposed to be playing. All the kind of general stuff that played Trails of Cold Steel 2 and 1, just because there were old games, plagues this game. It's not too much of an issue in my opinion. When you go into this kind of game from Nihon Falcom, you kind of understand what you're getting into, and that didn't bother me. There are two major issues with the game. One of them is intentional. One of them, I think, requires you to have played the game beforehand. So I want to get them through the issues right now. So we're gonna go review real quick story wise. Story, I think this is the biggest problem I have with the story. The game, I thought felt should have been more about Reen and his new class 7, where they just live the lives of students, where they can just go do adventures. Not we don't have to have like the whole game focusing around class 7, the original class 7, and all the new Tales of Erebonia. It just feels like every chapter is trying to power creep itself, like it's trying to one up every single chapter. And it feels like the first chapter felt like it could have been the final chapter. The second chapter really felt like it would be the final chapter. The third chapter felt like it was the final chapter. Everything, like each chapter tries to overstep each other, and it's just like, wow, is this really happening right now? And you're thrown into situations where it's like, we should not be beating this person, or we should not be even be fighting this person yet. How are we beating them right now? And there's kind of like that power gap imagination where I'm literally just fighting these people I would never have believed we should have fought, and we're beating them right now. It just that the game is trying to do itself over and over, and just trying to go over the top. You're saving the world every single chapter, and it's just like, what is going on? But until you play that final chapter, and I'm gonna have a real spoiler kind of episode later on when I'm throwing it onto the channel. But that last chapter really puts into context why this game had to escalate the story like tenfold every single chapter, and it's just like, man, I wish this game was Trails of Cold Steel 4, and we got a Trails of Cold Steel 3, where we could experience the game like with our class. We can hang out with the students and learn more about himself, teach the students a little bit more. But you're just thrown into this mess of a story. You're just going full steam ahead. Nihon Falcom knew what they wanted to do with this game. They wanted to bring every single resource they had from the other Legends of the Hero games and throw it in. They push every single reference onto you. This game, when it first comes out, it's a carbon copy of Trails of Cold Steel 1. From the point where where Kurt gets pushed onto Yuna and he gets his boobs touched right there, to how all like everything is brought up to you. There's a new old schoolhouse, as in the Mausoleum Training Center. Like the school, Reeves, everything just feels so familiar. It's great. But when the story just pushes you like that so hard, it is kind of a turnoff. And that's not a bad thing, because there's so much that this game does right. So I kind of want to move on next onto gameplay. So story wise, it has, as a fan, A plus, 100%. It's great. But as a Trails of Cold Steel enthusiast, I wish there could have been more. That's why I had to give it overall a B for story. So we're gonna move on to gameplay. So gameplay, they redid a lot of stuff. The bravery system is completely new. It's great. It's a great substitute for, I don't want to waste my brave points on something else like a burst and just save it up. You can use that as your command points. It's a great addition. And they moved a lot of the more OP stuff that was in Trails of Cold Steel 2 out, aka Grail Burst, which was basically you could get infinite turns and one phase bosses, and it was just not fun at that point. It was just basically, I don't want to play this game anymore. I'm just going to cheat the game. So now that they removed Gale Burst, this game has a new actual problem, is the difficulty. If you're not a true hardcore Trails of Cold Steel fan, playing on the normal difficulty can actually be quite challenging. Like, I felt I had to go through a lot of battles, I had to rethink my strategies, basically farm up CP so I knew what my strategy was. Once I found the perfect strategy for every single boss, I just kind of abused it late in the game. But I can very well see a lot of people in this game not getting through a bunch of chapters because they're literally stuck. There's so many bosses in this game that self-heal themselves so much and self-buff that it becomes almost ridiculous. And the new Berserk system, as soon as someone goes into Berserk, if you don't have proxy puppets or angel or anything they can use to revive you, that is an instant game over right there. Unless your teammates in the back can save you, that is an instant game over. Especially if the enemy has an S-craft. Most powerful enemies in the game will have that Berserk S-craft. Get plus speed, plus strength, plus defense. Pop the S-craft as soon as they can. Boom, your team's gone. The other tough fights in the game are the Magic Knights or any beasts that can, once they go berserk, they get all those buffs again. They self-heal themselves, and they just keep self-healing, so you can't dish out enough damage in a small period of time without knowing specific strategies that I found out in the game. And I don't know if that's really a bad thing. It really makes you improve on what you know how to play and how you know how to play this game. So I don't knock it down for that. So gameplay-wise, I do want to give it an A minus or at least B plus, somewhere in that category. It's a lot better than it was in Trails of Cold Steel 2. So let's go on. Graphics, well, I've stated that already. It's not the best. It does the job. That's why I like it. I'm not gonna fault it. 10 out of 10, whatever. Next is music. A lot of the game's music is very, very, very nostalgic, and I mean that in a good way. It takes a lot of what Trails of Cold Steel 1 and Cold Steel did correct and replays it. So it's more like, if you didn't like those soundtracks in the first part, you're not gonna like the new ones, and I'm kind of okay with that. Like, I'm the music, it just got to me, and this mostly feels like a game towards people that love Trails of Cold Steel series and the Legend of the Heroes series in general. So it was made for people like this. Like, if I cannot suggest this game ever to anyone that it doesn't play those games already. So, and here I'm gonna do how easily playable the game is in English. If you're an English player, on a completely different video. Uh, let's see. Overall, I do really enjoy this game, and the game ends on a huge cliffhanger, just like Trails of Cold Steel 1 does. And I really can't wait for that next game. And for those of you who do know have beaten this game, this is a major spoiler. The next entry in the series is actually the final entry in the Legend of Heroes gameplay wise, because there is a cataclysm point at the end game where you do not come back from that. There is no way you can change that. This is going to affect every single Legend of the Heroes game, guys. This single game right here affects the storyline of every single one that comes after it, and this is kind of the end point. So this is kind of my mini review, final impressions of the game. Sorry about no gameplay. I just want to talk to you guys with just this static background of the trophy. Well, if you did like the video, please leave a like. Ask me any questions. Peace.